Hello, you're listening to a preview of a premium episode of Blocked and Reported. This one, we're going deep into this whole Minnesota thing. We're going to talk about the death of Renee Good and these fraud accusations and these other maybe less credible fraud accusations and just the whole society coming apart of the seams thing. It's a really fun one. I recommend it. If you want to hear the whole thing, go to blockedandreported.org and become a premium subscriber. It's an amazing deal. Either way, hope you enjoy the preview.
Jesse, I just had one of the quintessential experiences of being a parent in America.
Despite not being a parent. Wait, let me guess. Quintessential America. They took your kids away because you let them play in a playground for 5 minutes?
Actually, no, it wasn't that. It was I went to a middle school basketball game. And while I was at this basketball game, so my nephew plays basketball. He's in 5th grade. He goes to a very small school. There are, I think, 30 kids in the entire school. It's K-8, so very small school. And they're all forced to play basketball and other sports from the age of 5th grade, the age of, whatever's that, 10. And it's co-ed. All of the sports are co-ed. So I've gone to a lot of these middle school basketball games. And because this is such a small school, the other schools that his school plays are also equally bad at basketball. You know, it's like the private schools, the charter schools, the schools with measles, those kind of schools.
Is there a separate league for the kids infected with measles? Because there should be.
No, they're all in the same league, but it should be like the hardcore conservative schools and the hippie schools. It would be just them. It's interesting Venn diagram. Yeah. But no, this was everybody in the same league. I might have gotten measles at this particular school that we were at. I'll let you know if the symptoms start by the end of this recording. But because this is co-ed, it's a real, and his older brother played, so I've been watching this now for this team play now for, I guess, 4 or 5 years. And these games are always co-ed. And so it's a really interesting look to me at the differences, at sex dimorphism, at the difference between middle school. You know, some of these kids are 5th grade, they're prepubescent. Kids playing basketball, boys and girls, and at the game that I was just at. So it was a pretty good game. My nephew's team won. The score was 44-37 or something like that. And co-ed, equal number of boys and girls. I want you to guess how many points were scored by girls in this game that had, let's say 80 points or so were scored in the entire game. Guess how many of those were scored by girls?
A very small percentage, I would guess, even by 5th grade.
It was 2. It wasn't, no, this is 5th through 8th, so not just 5th graders.
Oh, 5th through 8th, so even more, yeah, I would say even by 5th, yeah, 2, that yes. Sounds about right.
2 points. 2 points. One girl scored 2 points. And at the end of, but they played the whole time. It wasn't, and the coach is a woman, so this is not one of these things where only the better players are allowed to play. They really want all the kids to get playing time. But at the end of the game, so it was mostly co-ed the whole time, but all the boys were scoring. And at that age, there's not huge height differences.
5th to 8th grade? Well, by 5th to 8th grade, I feel like often the boys have caught up because the girls...
Well, the 5th graders are 10 years old. So a 10-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl without the haircut and the clothes, if you just saw their bodies without the genitals, it could be indistinguishable.
So you're saying if you just saw the naked bodies of 10-year-olds?
Yeah, which I do all the time. I actually go into the locker room before and after the games.
Oh, this is good because we're trying to find stuff that we can flip for social media to get more engagement. Can you say naked 10-year-olds again? A little slower?
So anyway, where was I? So these girls are just... the boys are remarkably bad, but the girls are even worse than the boys. But at the end of this game, and the girls are they're not aggressive. But at the end of the game, for the last maybe 4 minutes, the coaches put in all the girls. So it was all girls and one short boy on the court in the last few minutes of this game.
I feel bad for the short boy who has to play with the girls.
He's probably gay, though. He's probably trans, actually. And in the last 2 minutes, the girls, it's not as though they scored more, but their playing style really changed. They got aggressive, they were actually fighting over the ball because they weren't playing with boys. And this is, I have watched a lot of these games. This is not an uncommon dynamic, but I was thinking about this story that I heard on NPR the other day because there is this case in front of the Supreme Court about trans kids in sports in schools. And NPR, All Things Considered, the flagship evening show, they had this reporter on, not an NPR reporter, a reporter from, I think the outlet is called The 19th, one of these.
The 19th, yeah. It's really, really, really bad. outlet for uncertain issues.
Is it mostly legal stuff that they cover?
Yeah, the 19th is an independent nonprofit newsroom reporting at the intersection of gender. What is gender? Politics, policy, and power.
So the reporter from this outlet was a they them. Not that I'm judging at all. It's a fine pronoun for more than one person. So this reporter is telling the story of this case before the Supreme Court, and the reporter said at one point, "There's no evidence that trans women have an advantage over females in sports. And in fact, there's some evidence that they have a disadvantage over women in sports." And they didn't have anybody to contest that. The host just sort of ate that up like, okay, that sounds right.
I mean, we should say these two cases. One is about club sports in college, which I do think is different. The other is about a 15-year-old who apparently transitioned before puberty. So they're like not the most, I don't know, they're like slightly more complex cases, but I'm just reading from the transcript. A 2021 study funded by the International Olympic Committee published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine concluded that transgender women likely had several physical disadvantages compared with their cisgender peers. And this is after medical transition.
It was, you know what it was? It was because they were, the sport that they were looking at was pole vaulting, and the dick got caught on the pole.
I guess what jumped out at me about this is this was Sosin with the person from the 19th.
Yeah. What's their first name?
I don't care. They said, the rest of the country will remain as it is, but I think the bigger implication that we would see is that having your Supreme Court come back and tell you again and again and again that your rights matter less than everybody else's is a really damaging thing for a lot of transgender individuals. And like that may be, but this isn't news. That's a fine thing to put in an opinion piece, but in like something that does hinge on sort of a scientific question, it's just, I don't understand how we're still doing this, how you could have a segment that doesn't at least acknowledge the complexities here. And not even complex. A lot of some of it's not complex in some cases.
If they had on someone else like Dorianne Coleman from Duke, who has also studied this issue, who's a scholar on this issue, or fucking anybody, just any other reporter to say, okay, so this is one activist claim that trans women that the research shows that, trans women don't have an advantage over women. And in fact, they have a disadvantage. And then they had someone else to counter this. I wouldn't have had a problem with it, but they just presented it as though this is fact. And Ben Ryan, friend of the pod, he did a little Twitter thread. I'll link to this in the show notes, just showing studies, a demonstration of studies that do find trans women do have an advantage over natal females in sports. And there was just no mention of any sort of counter in this report. And like, I'm an NPR defender. I still love NPR in many ways, but my God, like how an issue.
I know, but like at a certain point, like in 2026, there's certain issues where I would not listen to NPR's coverage of those issues because I know I can't do them. I would listen to NPR like on certain local issues, or there's certain NPR shows I like. But if you told me NPR was doing a segment on this, it's just like, fool me a million times, shame on me. It's just it's frustrating. But I don't know what's their end game. You keep doing this kind of bullshit fake reporting. Is that going to help in the numerous threats you face to your funding? I mean, it's a mess. It's very demoralizing.
We'll end this on a positive note. So Emma Hilton, she's a developmental biologist, and she has also studied this issue. She's certainly more sympathetic to the gender critical side of the argument than the trans activist side of the argument. She tagged Sarah McCammon, who was the anchor, the host of All Things Considered on this particular segment. And she pointed out that this reporter from the 19th they had on misrepresented, this is Emma saying, Sosin has completely misrepresented the conclusions of these studies. Happy to explain to you. DM me if you're interested in understanding these studies. And then Sarah McCammon responded, thanks, Emma, reaching out. So I'm pleased to see this. This is actually good. They should have done it first.
We'll see if anything comes of it. It's just, I don't understand. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like what it's I just can't, there's a subset of issues where they're so deep in these holes.
Yeah.
I think we just have to sort of give up on them until they've determined they can do their jobs.
I mean, but this one is like, this is just one of these issues where it's so the like emperor is the emperor's big trans girl dick is swinging out. You know, I mean, this idea that males don't have, I mean, like anyone who goes to a fucking 5th grade basketball game can see the difference. Whatever. Let's move on.
Well,
my nephew did score 8 points, by the way, in case you were wondering.
Good for your nephew. That's cool. I was at a 1st and 2nd graders basketball game where
how was that?
I mean, it was great.
Were you invited, or is this just recreational?
No, this time I actually knew one of the kids. It was my nephew, and I had my first encounter with a crazy sports dad. This dad was just the constant stream of negative commentary toward his own son, who's just this little kid. None of these kids know how to play. Actually, it's 1st and 2nd graders, and it was scary because some of the 2nd graders are already freaks who like could shoot from significant, and they were just like so much better than the others. But like,
it's a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I knew this was a trope. I knew they existed, but just you're like the constant negative. I felt so bad for that kid. Anyway, this is a good time to feel negative. This episode is going to be about the situation in Minneapolis. Before we get to that, I just want to call out a couple events coming up. There'll be links in the show notes. Last call for me, Kat Rosenfield. Katie named the other people on stage.
Connor Friedersdorf. Megan McArdle. Lee Stein. You already said Kat.
Lee Stein.
River Page. And Katie Herzog. They're in spirit.
No, don't tease people. Nick Fuentes is the one you left out. That's in Austin on this coming Sunday. Sorry.
What should people wear? We did get an email asking about the dress code.
Sunday, January 18th. The dress code is casual. I dodged a bullet. I was almost going to be on stage during the second half of a Patriots playoff game, which would have not gone well for anybody. So I'm glad that didn't happen.
Especially you.
Especially me. Helen Lewis and I, some of you have heard of her. San Francisco, February 16th, link in the show notes. Also, there's going to be meetups in Los Angeles and San Francisco. Link in the show notes if you want to sign up on this Google form thing to register interest. Okay. Do you have any announcements?
I got some terrible news last week. My event at Duke for Frank Bruni has been moved to a bigger room.
That's awesome.
It's terrible. Terrible. It was going to be, the capacity was like 150. But the tickets have apparently sold well, so they've moved me to a bigger room. I can fill 150.
How much is a ticket?
It's free.
This pisses me off.
It's free. But,
free ticket.
Okay, that's expensive. But you also have to park. You have to find parking on Duke campus. So I think that's actually a bigger barrier. I'm sure the parking situation's fine. Nobody let that dissuade you. But yes, so it's going to be empty, I think, because they moved it to the bigger room. So please come. If you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, anywhere on the eastern seaboard, Florida's fine.
Panhandle, Georgia.
It's going to be, I think it will be fine. I think it will be a fine talk, and it's more importantly free.
What's the, you should drop a link in the show notes, but also what's the date? You should say the date. Did you?
Oh, yes. The date, so it's January 26th, but you have to RSVP by January 20th. So please do.
I emailed some folks I know in the Bay Area just to be like, hey, I'm going to be out there for a few months. And one of them mentioned, I don't want to mention where, but she mentioned the possibility of doing an event on youth gender medicine. I'm not usually skittish about events. At this particular place she wants to do the event, 20% chance I don't make it out of there alive. Like it really could get dicey.
Ooh, what is it?
I'll tell you off mic, because I don't even know if it's happening yet. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
Is it at a UCSF gender clinic? Because I don't think that's a good venue.
Right, we're going to do an event in the gender clinic.
Billboard Chris will be there
while a kid's being evaluated. Like, sorry, we double booked the exam rule. Oh yeah, Billboard Chris. Sorry, little kid. I'm doing a podcast thing here. We'll try to give you your privacy. Anyway, have you ever been to Minneapolis, Katie?
I have, yes. Lovely city. When I was there at least, lots of big houses that were surprisingly affordable.
Okay.
Have you?
No. I'd like to go. Not in the winter, in the warm.
Yeah, go in the warm.
Go in the warm. So yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on there. This is centering on the shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent. We're going to dive all the way into it. We're going to focus a little bit more on the online stuff than the policy issues, but like everything is getting tangled here. A lot of like news events, a lot of scandals, a mix of real and some maybe less real, but it's hard to tell. So let's talk a little bit about the broader context. And I do want to make a couple points about Trump's unusual use of ICE, because I think that's part of the story here. Sue me, Katie. Katie, I want you to sue me.
I would love to sue you. We'd have to share a lawyer, though.
That would be really weird. So I just want to say, like, because things are so weird now that we forget that they're weird. Part of the reason Trump is sending ICE into Democratic cities is this. Here, let's get it from the horse's mouth. Katie, read this from CBS News this past June.
In a Truth Social post, the president called on U.S. immigration and customs enforcement officials to, quote, do all in their power to achieve the very important goal of delivering the single largest mass deportation program in history. He added that to reach the goal, officials must, quote, expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens, that's in caps, in America's largest cities such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. And as usual, there's his creative capitalization.
I was going to say, just assume as you listen that like every third word is capitalized and it's unclear why. Continue.
These and other cities, again, the capitalization, are the core of the Democrat power center, where they use illegal aliens to expand their voter base, cheat in elections, and grow the welfare state, robbing good-paying jobs. Jobs is also capital.
Jobs are important.
And benefits from hardworking American citizens, the president wrote.
So, I mean, this is a conspiracy theory. The idea that Democrats bring in illegal aliens and they vote for Democrats. And because illegal aliens love to vote. If you don't have your paperwork, what you definitely want to do is go and try to vote. That's why it happens so often. So yes, we're not the Krasensteins or whatever, but suffice it to say, there is not evidence to support the idea of widespread voter fraud. That's one of those things that annoying people on Blue Sky repeat a lot, but what's the word? But the clock's broken, but it's right sometimes. Yeah, that's the saying, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's something like that. The Department of Homeland Security has also gone full creep on social media in terms of the messaging they're disseminating. Katie, describe this image I've dropped in the show notes.
Okay, so this is it's a tweet from Homeland Security at DHS.gov. And there's an image, a photo that looks like it's from Yellowstone, but instead of a bald eagle flying, so there's like a man on horseback in front of someone.
It looks like it could be a Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah. It's like, it looks,
but it's just one guy.
Right. It's like one guy, one rancher, one cowboy in Montana, but overhead, instead of a bald eagle flying, it looks like a stealth bomber. Or maybe a drone.
It's a stealth bomber.
Okay. And then
it looks like no, that's a stealth bomber, but it looks like he's about to bomb the cowboy, which that would be bad.
And then
unless the cowboy is illegal.
And then the text says, "We'll have our home again. Join.ice.gov."
So again, I think we've earned our credentials as like not crazy. We don't go in for conspiracy theories. "We'll have our home again" is a very specific lyric from a song about those evil invading foreigners. This is a song that has been adopted by far-right groups and like really hardcore anti-immigrant groups. This is a thing that happened. One more, Katie.
Okay, so it's good to know that this is true, because I saw another example of this just yesterday. There was a picture of Kristi Noem in front of a dais, like she's giving some talk, and the text, did you see this one?
No. I think it's dais.
The text,
actually, how do you pronounce
dais,
that?
Okay.
We'll research that for later.
And the text said on this thing, she's standing in front of "one of ours, all of yours." And so it's on the podium. Someone in our chat, our Substack chat, posted a link to this like professional skeptic. His name's DJ Groth. He posted on Threads, quote, "The phrase 'one of ours, all of yours' recently appeared on Department of Homeland Security podiums. It's a line from Nazi Germany that meant when an SS officer was killed by a member of the resistance, the Nazis killed every single resident of that village as payback." I could find zero evidence that that's true, and I actually reached out to him and asked him. And this is a guy who, like, literally, he's a professional skeptic. He didn't write me back, so I like did.
Can I just say one thing that's funny?
Yeah.
That speaks to like how crazy things are. I googled "one of ours, all of yours" Wikipedia. Yeah. Feminist News, 17,000 reactions 20 hours ago. That attributes it to a fascist rallying cry in 1930s Spain. That being said, it could be both because of how that shit worked. It could have been a Franco thing and a Nazi thing, but people can't even. Anyway, I hadn't heard of this. Did you get to like the bottom of it?
I could find zero evidence that this was a Nazi. Like if you Google this, the only thing that comes up is is this me? And then I wrote to DJ Groth and I asked him and he didn't get back to me. Like, it sounds like what you're saying, that the thing about the song lyric is true. I don't think the thing about the podium is true. I mean, the podium is true. I don't think that the phrase is actually a Nazi phrase.
You don't think she was actually at a podium? Your podium.
Well, you can't fucking tell these days.
So if you Google, I mean, we're just living really epistemically crazy times. If you Google one of ours, all of yours, basically all you get is people making this accusation within the last few
Tom
days.
Morello.
And it's very hard to like actually find the truth of the matter. So on the other one, on We'll Have Our Home Again, I'm basing that on the fact that there is a song with that theme that exists, and We'll Have Our Home Again, I think, is very specific phrasing. As far as I can tell, this is actually a reference to that. But even to me, more like indisputable, read this one.
So Homeland Security again, this is a tweet. Which way American man, join.ice.gov. And then there's a probably AI generated image of Uncle Sam, but he is looking at, it's like one of those signs that has, you would see this at like a tourist town and it would be like like an arrow, like Paris, 3,000 miles, New York.
Yes, but much more depressing. Read from the top the different signs pointing different directions.
Cultural decline, homeland, service, invasion, opportunity, and Uncle Sam is holding one that says law and order, and again, join.ice.gov. And Uncle Sam, he's looking, he kind of looks rough.
He looks
like he's been living under a bridge in San Francisco.
He's just getting stomped on by all those darn illegals. So this one's a little bit trickier in one sense. Have you come across Which Way Western Man?
What is that? That's something. Right. That's something real.
Which Way Western Man has just been memified so much that it lost its original meaning. But its original meaning was it was just straightforwardly a book by a white supremacist named William Gailey Simpson.
If your middle name was Gailey, don't you think you would probably turn into a white supremacist too?
Exactly.
The black kids are beating you up, calling you a faggot. I mean, come on. Let's have some patience for William Gay.
Which Way Western Man has been so meme that you'll see like a fork in the road and a dude and like one fork goes to talking to girls, having a family, the other's like masturbation and video games. But it is in fact the title of a white supremacist book, and in this context, Which Way Western Man, Uncle Sam, cultural decline, homeland invasion, like this is like some pretty hardcore shit. It just is.
Whoever is running the Homeland Security Twitter page, I mean, it's probably some like 25-year-old Nick Fuentes fan. And the thing is, in a prior administration, if something like this had happened, if it was even just like some dude, the intern who's running the Twitter account for the agency, this would be a scandal. But it's whatever.
Yeah. And now It's just like there's so much going on. It's just, I mean, so my point here is like this is some genuinely creepy shit, both Trump's stated reason for doing what he's doing and shit like this that honestly makes our own government seem like, sorry, I know like a lot of people have said crazy shit about Trump. This makes it seem like they're very close to just straightforwardly white nationalists. This is white nationalist bullshit. Anyway.
Right.
So yeah, this is what the government is doing is extremely...
Wait, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, fine. Just this once.
I think we kept our heads on straight during the first Trump administration. And I think because of that, there will be a certain number of people who listen to this right now who say that we have Trump derangement syndrome. I think you should take us...
It's so annoying.
I think people should take us more seriously when we start to sound hysterical, because we were not hysterical before. And maybe we were wrong not to be more hysterical during the first Trump administration, although I do think that the hysteria is part of why we got a second Trump administration.
It's complicated by, okay, for one thing, his cabinet was like probably Republicans who I would find to be too far to the right, but like actual members of one of the major political parties who constrained him. The climax of the constraining being Vance. Jesus Christ. Vance. Not Vance. Oh my God. My fucking brain. Pence. I mixed up JD Vance and Pence. Pence refusing to not certify the election. So it was different. There was a constant stream of like resistance lib stuff. Like, do you remember the post office thing?
The post office thing? No.
Me neither. There was a whole thing of like there was a steady stream of claims about what Trump was doing that didn't bear out.
Right.
This was
right. And that I mean, I think that I had a conversation just the other day with people who are absolutely convinced that there will be a third Trump turn, that there's no fucking way that he's ever going to step down.
It wouldn't shock me if he tried. I don't think there will be. It wouldn't shock me if he tried, because there's that loophole thing where he gets his little, I was going to say his butt boy. That's disrespectful. JD Vance. But okay, so part of the reason to get into that is, first of all, like, feel free to say Trump. I mean, we actually, when we surveyed our audience, 10% were Trump voters. So I don't think that many people say TDS, but okay, I guess it's such a meaningless accusation.
I do think that do think that TDS exists. I do think that some people have become absolutely deranged by Trump, but he is a deranging figure.
Yeah.
The Orange Man really is bad.
He said he's using the federal immigration enforcement body in response to a conspiracy theory, and in an explicitly political way. That, I mean, this is extremely unusual and bad. And anyway,
right.
The reason,
and it's not just about this conspiracy theory. It's also about what's happening with the Somali fraud. So let's get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is, like, this is not just a case of the government trying to do immigration enforcement or deport some people, which is something every president does. This is just, it's different. But we should get to Minneapolis. This started a while ago. We'll get to that. But this part of it started in early December. The New York Times broke the news. The Trump administration was sending ICE agents to Minneapolis to target Somali immigrants who had final removal orders. So just read this from the Times to capture sort of the scene.
The launch of the immigration operation came as Mr. Trump delivered a tirade against Somalis during a Tuesday cabinet meeting at the White House. Quote, "When they come from hell and complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country," he said. "Let them go back where they came from and fix it," the president said, as Vice President JD Vance banged on the table in approval.
This is another quote.
JD, he's not going to fuck you.
Another quote.
Actually, he might.
He said Somalia, quote, "stinks and we don't want them in our country," end quote. He described Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat of Minnesota, who came to the U.S. from Somalia as a refugee and became a citizen 25 years ago, as garbage. "We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country," Mr. Trump said. "She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people who work. These aren't people who say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great." So
do you remember there was a period in like 2017, 2018 when the woke insult du jour was to call someone garbage? I had a little pin. Jana got me a little. I got called this so much that Jana gave me a little pin of a trash bag that said garbage on it.
I think they still do that.
Do they?
But this, again,
he's appropriating this.
I'm going to keep trying to put things into the context of our prior reality. Our prior reality was that a president, even a president who's seeking to ramp up deportations, would not publicly announce that this particular people of this ethnic origin are trash and garbage. And so this just... And stink. This just ratchets up the tensions further, obviously.
Do we know how many illegal immigrants from Somalia are in the Twin Cities?
Right. So this gets to the math of Trump's deportation promises, right? He's said... And
by the way, I think he would deport all Somalis, not just illegal Somalis. Just my guess. I don't know. Just a guess.
Right. He said he wants there to be millions of deportations. So obviously expensive and logistically difficult to pull off. And you run out of the truly bad hombres pretty quickly. Anyway, if you're going to do this, you would focus on the places with the most illegal immigrants. Minneapolis seems to be a strange choice. So the Twin Cities does have the highest population of people of Somali descent in the country, about 80,000. They're mostly citizens, and it's really hard to get an accurate count on something like how many people are... People
don't answer those polls.
I got to say, I know... Yeah, can I just say, I guess we might as well take a shot at this whole, you have to say undocumented instead of illegal immigrant. I feel like you sort of know, we're not saying the person is illegal. We're saying their status is legal. Anyway, I'll use them interchangeably. So one estimate I read, outlet called the Minnesota Reformer. I think they're a lefty outlet, but they linked to sane seeming sources on this. Out of the 80,000 people of Somali descent in the Twin Cities, about 5,000 of them are not citizens, but that number includes, quote, people here through other legal means such as permanent residents, green card holders, and the couple hundred covered by temporary protected status, a protection Trump said he would end earlier than planned. He actually just did that today, the day we're recording. He's ending so-called TPS status for Somalis, but that's like a tiny number. Another estimate from the state demographer of Minnesota, this is via the local ABC affiliate, put the number of non-citizen Somalis in the entire state at 5,800. Again, quote, that includes people with visas, refugees, and undocumented individuals. So we're talking about like low four figures of total undocumented Somalis in the entire state. And not to make this entire thing anti-Trump, but just in terms of understanding the vehemence of some of the protests, like we know this is an administration that will sweep people up on immigration violations and maybe send them to a torture prison in El Salvador. Like it is actually pretty high stakes, especially when you're going after people whose only violation is an immigration violation who don't necessarily have other criminal records.
There are also these other cases where people are here for tourism or for brief work. Like I talked to someone the other day whose colleague, a guy who works for an American think tank. We're talking basically as white collar as that comes. He came to the US from Nigeria for a work retreat, never showed up. And then they get a call like a week later. The guy's dad called the organization and said his son is in an immigration detention center. There was some like fuck up in his visa, and now he's in a prison somewhere. There have been European and Canadian backpackers who've been detained by ICE for weeks for minor visa issues. Like a British woman was held in ICE in Tacoma for 19 days. She was like a British backpacker because she was exchanging a place to stay for house sitting, and she wasn't making any money. So, she got a tourist visa instead of a work visa. She wasn't actually getting paid. She got 19 days in an ICE prison for that.
So you're saying our listeners shouldn't be complacent because this also affects white people.
I'm saying it's not only affecting actual illegal immigrants. And the guy from Nigeria was not white, by the way. But let's get to the online aspect of this. So there was this very online story about fraud allegations in the Twin Cities, right?
Yeah. And we'll get to the specific video in question, but this is both a big thing in terms of the number of dollars likely stolen and its impact on obviously people's perceptions of the Somali community there. And I just want to be clear, like, I think there's a little bit of a tendency among people who are very online, but have a limited media diet to like discover something and then imagine that because they just discovered it, it wasn't previously discovered.
Elon Musk is a great example of this.
So in this case, there is a scandal involving Minnesota's welfare program, most notably pandemic relief programs, although as we'll hear, this stretches like across the entire state's welfare system. That's it. That's all you get. If you want to hear the rest, go to blockedandreported.org and become a premium subscriber. Thank you for listening.